Just happy for everybody involved. So happy for Alan and Nick Santora, the showrunner, and just everybody involved. When we was filming, it was kind of like a very insulated experience. So you just don't know how it's going to be received until it came out, and then boom! And it's like everywhere I go, people of all ages and all backgrounds, they watch Reacher and they're digging it and getting into it. So it's been surprising in all the good ways.
Yeah, it's almost like people were looking for that sort of a series type, like of the Punisher, in terms of that was such a famous sort of movie back in the early sort of 90s, and people were looking for a more common, more 21st type century reincarnation of that, and they seem to have found it really in Reacher in terms of that. And obviously the research Alan did in terms of scouting this role, the in-depth sort of all 20 books of the Reachers sort of he's read them from top to bottom 100 times over to
Sure
try
did.
to familiarize himself with that sort of character. So no stone was left unturned in terms of trying to go, dare I say, to try and get that sort of feel and trying to make those books authentic, really, in terms of what the TV series, to have that real connection between writer, reader, and viewer.
Right. And Alan's preparation for Reacher was infectious. It made you want to show up 1,000%, as much as he did. I mean, he had that character inside out, and he worked hard. I mean, he put his body on the line every single day. We're sitting watching. He has said, he's a big guy, got to eat a lot of protein, so we have to watch him just eat all this chicken and lamb and everything. And I wanted to help out, but I had to fit inside that suit, so I couldn't indulge too much. But yeah, but his preparation, the work that he's done for that character, it's been incredible, and I'm just so happy that everyone's enjoying his performance and what he's bringing to that character.
Yeah, and tell us a bit about your own character, Oscar Finlay, in terms of what were you type of going to? We always see these types of FBI sort of agent roles and quizzes. Were you sort of going for a subtle sort of touch? Were you going for the Forrest Whitaker type detective sort of role in terms of sense, or what was your sort of sense in how you wanted to play Oscar Finlay? So because we see so many, did you want to go down the Don Cheadle sort of route, or what was your sort of thinking of?
I love Don Cheadle. I love both those guys. Forrest Whitaker, I had a pleasure working with them on a film called Freelancers years ago. I was staying true to the character that Lee Child and Nick Santora created for television, in a sense. So, this is a character who's suffering. He's in pain. He's in mourning, which is why he has the attitude that he has. And he's also going through this penance that he's, for his guilt for. I'm sure people seen it, but I don't want to. Well, I don't know if I should ruin it or not. But he's mourning. I'll just leave it like that. He's mourning. So he has a chip on his shoulder. He's very, he's angry. He's upset. But at the same time, he still has a strong sense of right and wrong, and he has something to prove. And there was a lot of politics that was happening in Boston for him that he's hoping to right on, in this new version of his life in Margrave, Georgia. So I just had to stay true for what was on the page. And obviously in the first episode, Reacher calls Finlay out to the bone. He only got one thing wrong, but he got everything else right. And I don't know. I just enjoyed that. I enjoyed just staying true to what was on the page, to what was written. And as long as I did that, and it was written so well and so clear, down to the detail of spinning the ring. These are details. Some people think I added that detail. I'm like, no, that was in the script. All of that was in the script. So when you just have, when the characters are written so well, you just have to stay true to what's on the page. And obviously I bring myself to it and bring my, what makes me into it, and anything that I can use for it in order to bring that character to life.
You mentioned saying so sort of conscious to the script in terms of Reacher, but I almost get the sense though that Nick Santorari, the producer, that he almost in certain times, in certain moments, that he maybe give you a bit of license to go off tangible in terms of improv and maybe sort of bring your own sort of sketches to life, because it gets a sense of a happy cast, a sense of a cast that really had a real intake in terms of everything that went on, in terms of that it wasn't between there was no sort of I get the sense there's no sort of divide or dare I say dim and us sort of attitude. It was all pulling one direction, and I get that sort of sense with Reacher that there was times when the cast had a real influence in terms of where the episodes was heading as well, that everything wasn't set in stone.
Yeah, it's kind of, one thing with Nick Santori, he does give you the freedom to bring your ideas and your ideas to the role and to what's happening. But I have to say, everything, sometimes I say the writing is so good, you just follow what's there. It's just, I'm not touching this. All I have to do is just be true to what's on the page. Obviously, us just being human beings and being different type of actors, we're always going to bring our element of truth and honesty to it, and that's what adds the nuance and makes it, come alive on the screen. But when you have such a solid, really, really well structured story, you just have to be true to it, and that's what getting the. I remember reading all 8 scripts and going, "Oh, I binged the scripts." Like before, people say I binge watched the show. I binge read the scripts, and sometimes when you get a series, take a break. You take I'll read the second episode the next day. No, I read all 8 episodes in one sitting. That's how, and I'm like, I just have to be true to what's on the page. And that makes it a lot easier, that makes it a lot easier. And also playing an arc. I know exactly where we're going in a television series. And some shows, the episodes are written, you don't know exactly where your character is heading.
Yeah.
I feel like the writers are trying to figure it out week to week. And that's a journey by itself. But to have everything and to go, okay, I know exactly where this character is going to end up. It allows us to do our, the actors. I think it allows everyone to do their best because we know exactly where we're going, where this thing is going to end. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
And I suppose, Malcolm, with Reacher and the sort of its evolution and growth, you're trying to create, dare I say, not I don't want to go there on the animated and the fantasy road, but you're still trying to create a universe as sort of such, in terms of you're trying to build up all the repertoire around the principal character and Reacher. You're trying to develop all the background sort of stories of all the supporting cast members as well, to give them audience, to give them license to freedom. So as per writers, they can take them down different angles. And in terms of that, how important is it, like building up the characters of Sean Sipos, building up the characters of Surrender Swan, Fernanda Kinsley, to see their growth throughout the seasons as well? That it's not a case of we're coming back to them after every 4 to 5 episodes or 3 episodes that we're saying haven't seen them in a while now, and then all of a sudden appear that they're constantly in the loop, they're constantly in that sort of arc, that storyline that you mentioned about, that they don't disappear and come and go sort of characters, dare I say.
I tell you, the experience, I know what they're experiencing. It's fun. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you connected to what's going on. It keeps you connected to the character. It makes playing the characters and connecting to the story that much more easier because you're never disconnected from it in terms of how it's written and put together. So I always say it allows you to really to do your best work. It allows you the freedom to be free within the structure. And the work that Maria, Sean, Surrender, season 2, Dom Lombardozzi, what they've done all season 2, and obviously Alan, it's just been to sit and watch their work this season has been inspiring. I'm like, they have not missed a beat. They have not missed a note. That connectivity with them is so incredible. Yeah, and I always say that starts with Nick Santora. That starts with Skydance, Amazon, Paramount, but especially with Alan. Alan is very, very also very, very responsible for making that happen and keeping a connectivity with the entire cast.
And I suppose, Malcolm, we were touching on the concept of freedom and sort of fun, and we're talking about in terms of the show's evolution. But how sort of rewarding is it, refreshing that you can create such a show, create such a concept, produce such quality of work, and it doesn't have to be in a Warner Brothers studio loft in Los Angeles in terms of millions and millions of pounds of production, or a Walt Disney loft or somewhere in the north, that you can go to Ontario, Canada, in terms of this, and produce the same sort of thing in the cold and the wilderness of Ontario. Very different in terms of Burbank, California, and Los Angeles, where we see so many of these concepts throughout the early noughties, into the thousands that have been filmed in the past. Is that a sense, a show of the changing times in terms of that as actors? And do you like it? Is it more refreshing to go to Ontario, Canada, and places like this, rather than doing the Los Angeles, the grind and pound, as the saying goes, in terms of that sort of hectic schedule? Or is it just a job as the location is location?
Yeah, I always say, as acting is kind of like, once I fell in love with acting, my love for acting gave me a passport to experience different walks of life, to travel. Being a kid from Brooklyn and Harlem, I got to play so many different characters from all walks of life. And so I got to travel in a kind of spiritual way through so many different characters I played in theater. And now, being in film and TV, to actually physically go to these places has been amazing. Toronto always has a special place in my heart because my first television series I've ever done, called Breakout Kings, which was with Nick Santora, the showrunner of Reacher, and it also starred Dom Lombardozzi and Brenda Swan. We did that in Toronto. We shot that there. And my first movie I've ever done in life, when I was 19 years old, was called Color of Justice, that would starred Bruce Davison, Judd Hirsch, and the great Gregory Hines, was in Toronto. So Toronto represents a lot of firsts for me. So to go back and do Reacher, it was very, very familiar to see the crew. Some of the crew on Reacher, the first season, was the same crew on Breakout King. So we seen each other 10 and 11 years later. But the opportunity to travel, and like I said, when I moved to LA, I thought I was going to do a lot of work in LA. I've only done, and I've been fortunate to work nonstop since I moved there in 2006. But I've only done 2 projects in LA. Everything else has been outside of LA. Yeah, so the ability to travel and see different walks of life, see the world. I never thought it would be through acting. I'm like, through my SAG card. Are you kidding me? What a perk. That's amazing. So it's that's also a reward. That's also been very, very rewarding.
I suppose, Malcolm, before we came on air, you mentioned another sort of, dare I say, a very sort of successful show that's on air at the moment that you also sort of feature in. You might enlighten all our audience and listeners. Obviously, they're going to be watching you on Reacher on Prime Video channel here in Ireland and the UK. But what else can they see you on? Because I do believe there's another show that they can watch you at the moment on, that is another very successful show.
Right, there is. It's on Netflix. It's called The Fall of the House of Usher, directed by the amazing Mike Flanagan, and it also stars Willa Fitzgerald, who plays Roscoe in Reachers. He's in it as well. And if there's any iZombie fans out there, it also stars Raul Coley as well. And so it's a reunion of us two being back on screen together, although not in scenes together, but we're in the same show together. So, but you can check that out. It's been doing really, really well. Very, very proud of the work that everybody's been done with that show. So it's on Netflix right now.
Yeah, and you have a few upcoming films and the works as well. So it's going to be a busy 2024 for you, Malcolm Goodwin. But you also, dare I say, you've touched down on the Emerald Isle in the past as well, and you've
I
visited the
have.
green shores of Ireland. Anything to share?
Yeah.
If whether it's good or bad, you can enlighten us as long as it's not too bad. I suppose.
I had an amazing time. I had an
Okay,
amazing
fantastic.
time. I know I did a lot of walking. I remember I had my first proper pint. You know, there was like you have to have a proper pint, and everyone was telling me that. I said, okay, cool. But I went there to shoot. I worked with Jim Sheridan, the incredible Jim Sheridan, and he directed Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. And you know, long story short, what happened is I auditioned for it, and I was right out of college. And then my audition was supposed to last like 5 minutes, but it goes 45 minutes long, and him and I were improvising together. And I'm like, wait a minute, Jim Sheridan is an incredible actor. He's amazing. And then he did say to me, he was like, "You never been in a movie yet?" I said, "No, I haven't been in a movie. I did something when I was a teenager, but nothing as an adult." And he was like, "I'm gonna put you in your first movie." I said, "Okay, cool." So I'm thinking that okay, I got this role instantly. Turns out I didn't get the part. 8 months pass, and there's posters of the movie coming out all over New York City. I was in New York City, and you see 50 Cent with like the holding the baby with the gun on his back, and my phone rings. 9 months later, and it's Jim Sheridan, and he goes, "This is Jim," and I'm like, "Huh?" I don't believe him. He goes, "Remember I told you I was going to put you in your first movie?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You have your passport?" "Yeah." He said, "I need you on a plane tomorrow. I got you three. So I wrote a new character. We wrote a new character in this movie, and I want you to play it. And the movie comes out in 30 days, but we're going to try to get these scenes in there." So he flew me out to Ireland. I was there for a week, hung out with him, 50 Cent. I'm like, it was amazing. Just had an incredible time out there. And those scenes didn't make the movie. I don't think anything we shot that entire week made the movie, but it definitely made for amazing memories and amazing connections and amazing, you know, and just an amazing experience.
I imagine it was sort of an intriguing spar. I can imagine so many jokes of what happened when this man and this man went into a bar. But obviously, with Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent going into a bar with 50 Cent in Ireland, I imagine it must be very hard to stay unrecognized in terms of that, in terms of going into a bar with 50 Cent, because obviously for our sort of famous figure, he must have had disguise done to a max in terms of that, in terms of your
Right.
social
Oh
aspect.
yeah. Everyone knew who he was, and plus he was out there because a lot of people asked. Well, at that time they were like, "Why in Ireland?" Because 50 was doing he was doing his a tour out there. He was doing a concert out there, so it
Okay.
worked out for for the reshoots. It worked out for and Jim's he lives out there, so it just worked out. Hey, let's film here. And I think there was like it was South Stage. I forget the name of it, but it was like all of these amazing movies that were filmed there. Like I think some scenes from Braveheart and other movies were filmed there. We just forget the name of the studio, but my goodness, it was, and I was so nervous. It was my first time, like first kind of big movie experience in that way. So I remember just being so excited, so intimidated, but excited, and it was just an overall great experience. And everyone was like, "You can just walk." They would like, "Just walk." And I just walked. I remember just walking and walking for for hours, just and that was my thing.
Malcolm, on